All right, am I on? Yes, I am. Good afternoon. I'm Allison Burns. I'm the city attorney for the city of Lancaster and general counsel to CalChoice. For those of our board members who are participating remotely, it is important under the Brown Act that you keep your video camera on. So I will have to ask you to do that. Thank you so much. Because we have not yet elected the chair, I'm going to start us off when it is time, which is in 1 minute. But to give you some background, we will be calling the meeting to order. We will be going through a fun Brown Act exercise to add an item to the agenda to allow one board member who came down ill today to participate remotely. So we're going to get some practice on that, which I will be covering with you in my presentation a little bit later in this meeting. So we will add an item to the agenda to allow Director Sampson to participate remotely without disclosing her location because she came down ill this morning. Under the Just Cause provisions of the Brown Act. And then once we do that agenda item, we will go to the swearing in and, we'll go to the election. And then once we have a chair, that chair will take over the conduct of the meeting. So if that's all right with everyone, it is now 1 o'clock. So on behalf of CalChoice, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I believe next on the agenda is the roll call.
Present.
City of Lancaster.
Present.
City of Palmdale.
Oh, we have an alternate present. Excellent.
City of Pico Rivera.
Present.
City of Pomona.
Chris Diggs, present.
City of Rancho Mirage. City of San Jacinto. And City of Santa Barbara.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. So up next, we have the flag salute. If everyone present would rise and those at home do the same. And place your right hand over your heart and join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now we have the oath of office to be administered by the clerk of the board. So if I can have all board members and alternates, both on Zoom and in person, stand, raise your right hand, and join in giving your oath.
You'll repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Diggs,
I do solemnly swear
swear.
or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution
Support and defend
I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
Constitution
of the United States
and the Constitution
of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies,
all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
the United States.
to the Constitution of the United
to
States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of
and the
California,
Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any
without
mental
any mental
reservation or purpose of evasion,
Purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully
Well.
discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the
the
duties
duties of which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you all. All right, the next item we have is to add an item to the agenda. Under Government Code Section 54954.2, we can add an item to the agenda when we have learned of the existence of the item after posting of the agenda, and there is a need to act immediately on the item. In this case, we learned of the need to add an action to allow remote attendance for an individual who came down ill at 11:30 this morning, which was well after the agenda was posted. So it would be appropriate for one of the board members to move to add to the agenda an item to allow participation by Director Sampson remotely under the provisions of the Brown Act.
So moved, Lancaster?
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Santa Barbara. Thank you. All those, we need to do roll call votes for everything today because we have remote attendance. So if you will call the roll for the vote on this item, unless there's any questions or comments from the public or board members. Seeing none, please take the roll.
City of Apple Valley,
Yes.
City of Lancaster,
Yes.
City of Palmdale, City of Pico Rivera,
Yes.
City of Pomona,
Chris Diggs, yes.
City of Rancho Mirage. Yes. City of San Jacinto,
Yes.
City of Santa Barbara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so that added the item to the agenda. Now we act on the item, and that is to allow Director Sampson to participate remotely due to falling ill today. And that is under the exemption for emergency action under the Brown Act. And so it would be appropriate to move to authorize Director Sampson to participate remotely pursuant to the terms of the Brown Act.
So moved, Lancaster?
Second for Santa Barbara.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment or questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Town of Apple Valley,
Yes.
City of Lancaster,
Yes.
City of Palmdale, City of Pico Rivera,
Yes.
City of Pomona,
Yes.
City of Rancho Mirage. Yes. City of San Jacinto,
Yes.
City of Santa Barbara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. That brings us to item one, the election or appointment of officers. We need to appoint a chair, a vice chair, a chief executive, a board secretary, and a treasurer. There are recommendations on the agenda. If there are other or alternate nominations, that would be appropriate, and we do need a nomination for vice chair.
Lancaster would like to nominate Alalia Rintal from Santa Barbara to serve as vice chair.
Are there any other nominations, comments, or questions from board members or the public? Hearing none, it would be appropriate for someone to move approval of the slate as presented on the agenda with the addition of Alalia Portmanteau of Santa Barbara.
So moved, Pico Rivera.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Unless there are questions or comments, it would be appropriate to vote. Okay, hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Town of Apple Valley,
Yes.
City of Lancaster,
Yes.
City of Palmdale, City of Pico Rivera, City of
Yes.
Pomona,
Yes.
Okay, she should be voting.
City of Rancho Mirage. Yes. City of San Jacinto,
Yes.
City of Santa Barbara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Mr. Chair.
I guess I'm on. With that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, board comments and announcements prior to the presentation by general counsel.
No, we moved to the slate. We moved it as one.
So hearing no other board comments or announcements,
Back to me.
then it's turned back over to general counsel.
Thank you, and that's why I didn't sit down. All right, so today I'm going to give you a quick rundown on some duties and responsibilities, including a quick Brown Act primer. I know you're all affiliated with public agencies, cities in particular, so you're familiar with these things, but perhaps have not had them apply to you before. So I'm going to give a quick rundown on some of the things to keep in mind as you enter into your new role as board members of CalChoice. All right, so next slide. It would be nice if my slides advanced. There we go. All right, so first up, there we go. Topics we're going to cover. ethics training, conflicts of interest, both financial, incompatible office and common law contract conflicts, the Brown Act, and the Public Records Act. Some of these we're going to move through very quickly because they're less applicable to you, but could become applicable to you. So I want to give you a very surface level understanding so that you know when to come and ask if there might be an issue. All right. So first up, ethics training. Next slide. There we go. Next slide. This training is required if and only if you receive any form of compensation or reimbursement from CalChoice. So right now, my understanding is that is not happening, that each of you are reimbursed for your mileage, et cetera, by your respective member agencies. So that would not trigger this, but if at any point there is a reimbursement from CalChoice, you would then be required to do 2 hours of training every 2 years and complete your first training within 1 year of taking office or first receiving compensation or reimbursement. Okay. All right. Conflicts of interest. So as an official in a public agency, it is your duty and responsibility to exercise good faith and diligence with integrity and fidelity to the organization, with disinterested skill, zeal, diligence, and for the benefit of the public. So there is an 8-part test to determine if there is a conflict of interest under the Fair Political Practices Act. The first question is the individual a public official? Congratulations, yes, you are. As of taking the oath, you are. If you were not already, you are now a public official. Second, making a governmental decision. If a matter is coming before this board or is being considered by staff with regard to this matter, then a governmental decision is in play and you should be thinking about whether there's a potential for a conflict. The third step is that, and I'm doing this very fast again to give you an overview so that if an issue arises, you're reminded to come ask the question. Okay, I'm not expecting you to walk away from this knowing all of the conflict of interest rules, simply to have an understanding of when to ask questions. Okay, all right. Let's see. Do you have one of the 6 qualifying types of economic interests? Those are investments in business entities of $2,000 or more, interests in real property of $2,000 or more, sources of income of $500 or more within the preceding 12 months, sources of gifts and their agents or intermediaries in aggregate of $250 or more in the preceding 12 months, positions with business organizations, officer, director, employee, or any other business position, and personal finances of the official. So an action you're going to take is going to affect your personal finances, you probably have conflict. But then we finish the rest of the analysis. The next question is the interest directly or indirectly involved in the decision? So a direct involvement is when, for example, your employer is on the agenda for action. I'm not going to do that because that's going to happen a lot, and it's not a conflict because it's governmental agency. So let's go with if your spouse's employer was going to have an item on the agenda, you have a community property interest in your spouse's income, and therefore that could present a conflict that would require recusal. So that is if the item involves your spouse's actual employer. If the decision you make would affect, for example, all employers in your spouse's employer's line of work, that would be an indirect involvement. So again, there's direct and indirect. The next question is, will the decision have a material financial effect on the official's economic interest? The example I like to use for this one is you could hold $2,000, $2,001 in Coca-Cola stock, and the decision being made by a public agency, clearly not this one, would be whether to put Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola vending machines in City Hall. While that is a decision directly involving a matter in which you have a financial interest in excess of the threshold, the likelihood that decisions about whether to put vending machines from Pepsi-Cola or Coca-Cola in City Hall would have a material effect on the Coca-Cola company is very small. That is unlikely to have a material effect on the business interests of the Coca-Cola company. So we would fall off of the list at that step of the analysis. Then the next question is it reasonably foreseeable that the economic interest will be materially affected? Again, we're looking at materiality and likelihood. And if you find yourself at this part of the analysis, we should be having a conversation. And then the next question is the effect distinguishable from the effect on the public generally? This is known as the public generally exception when, for example, we're talking about rates that apply across the board. That would be under the public generally exception. Is the official's participation nonetheless legally required? That's commonly thought of as the rule of necessity. That's where the business of a public agency does not stop simply because its members have a conflict. If 5 of you end up with a conflict on an item, then we will draw straws to determine who gets the joy of participating anyway. That person would then state their conflict, remain on the dais, participate in the decision, and they would participate in every action related to that matter for the duration of the matter. Again, if you find yourself anywhere near a rule of necessity decision, we should be having a conversation. All right. If the test is met and there is a conflict, then the official needs to publicly announce the specific financial interest and leave the room during the discussion or deliberation. Technically, you're allowed to come sit in the audience and speak from the podium as a member of the public. I highly recommend against it. Next slide. Campaign contributions. We're going to be really fast on this. This brand new legislation just came into effect. I don't believe any of you have campaigns that you're raising money for to run for elected office, because my understanding is you're all staff members. But on the off chance that any of you decided to run for office, I wanted to make sure I quickly ran through. Basically, if you decide to run for office, you need to make sure you're watching contributions to your campaign accounts to make sure that you don't take action on any matter at this board involving anyone who's made a donation to you in the preceding 12 months. And then once you've taken an action, that you don't accept any donations following that decision being made. And we're going to jump past the rest of this because I don't think this is likely to come up, but just in case some of you have political aspirations, I included it for your information, and I will be providing this to you, the PowerPoint to all of you so you can have it. All right, common law conflicts of interest. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. Common law conflicts. So common law conflicts arise when you have a conflict that doesn't come out of that 8-step test, but I refer to this as the looks like a duck, quacks like a duck conflict question. If it looks like a conflict and it acts like a conflict, I'm going to recommend strongly that you, when in doubt, step out. Okay. So this is situations where often comes up with family members, right? You'll have, if a family member's item is coming before the board and they're not, let's say an adult child who is not a dependent. Technically, under the FPPC rules, it's not a conflict. Step out. That is a circumstance where a reasonable person would expect that you would be unable to exercise your discretion in the best interests of the CalChoice board, as opposed to take into consideration your familial relationship with your child. Okay. Let's see. Economic disclosures, Form 700s. Each year you will be required to file your Form 700s. You've now been sworn, so it will be time to file those very soon. I understand that CalChoice staff will be coordinating with you to make sure those get filed. You probably already filed them for your home agency, and it will just be taking those same appendices and attaching them to a face sheet for CalChoice. And then you'll do it annually thereafter, just like you do for your home agency. Let's see. So 30 days from after assuming office, and you assumed office today. So 30 days from today will be your deadline to get your assuming office Form 700 filed. Incompatible offices is unlikely to arise here, but if you find yourself in a situation where you think that you might have an incompatible office, let me know, but it's a local official cannot engage in an employment activity or enterprise for compensation that is inconsistent with or in conflict with their official duties or the responsibilities of the appointing authority. So the way this often comes out, you can't be a Board of Supervisors member and a City Council member at the same time. Because one has supervisory roles over the other. All right, the Brown Act. You all know about it, you've all dealt with it, but maybe not as up close and personal as we are doing now. So, open meetings are required for CalChoice. What is a meeting? A congregation of a majority of the members of the board at the same time and place to discuss or deliberate or hear any matter under the subject matter jurisdiction of CalChoice. So, this includes text, email, WhatsApp, every method you can think of to avoid making it a meeting. It probably is still a meeting. You cannot wheel. You can't, have me sit in the middle and gather votes from each of you. We can't do serial meetings where, Apple Valley talks to Lancaster, Lancaster talks to Rancho Mirage talks to San Jacinto. We just need to call a special meeting if we're in a circumstance where we need to make a decision. Notice and agenda requirements. We are required to post agendas 72 hours prior to a regular meeting, 24 hours prior to a special. They have to briefly describe the actions to be taken and the matters to be considered at the meeting. Oh, and I left council in, sorry about that, by the board. And the public has the right to attend. They don't seem to be taking advantage, to record the meetings and testify at them. And recording is only so long as it is not disruptive. We're recording anyways. All right, remote attendance. This is going to be particularly of interest to all of you having made the drive today. Thank you. And those of you remotely attending. We did do some of this today. So we have actually used both the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic rules today for having remote attendance. So pre-pandemic teleconferencing is permitted where we name the location from which you'll be participating on the agenda, post the agenda at that location for the requisite time, 72 hours for a regular, 24 hours for a special. We have to vote by roll call. We have to conduct the meeting in a manner to protect the rights of the public to participate, which is why I keep asking if there's public comment, online or in person. We have to provide notice, and members of the public have to be allowed to access the meeting from the locations that are noticed. All teleconference locations have to be identified in the agenda. We did that for today's meeting. We have 2 participants from remotely, one from the city of Pomona and one from a business center room in Las Vegas. When we have participants participating pursuant to the location being stated on the agenda, we need to have a quorum present within the jurisdictional boundaries of CalChoice, which includes all of your agencies. So the easiest way for you to participate remotely, if that is your desire, is to participate from your city hall. We'll put your city hall's address in the conference room you're going to use on the agenda. You participate from that conference room. It's accessible. It's ADA compliant. You're not having strangers come into your home. All of those things. So that is the pre-pandemic set of rules that we were all used to until COVID hit in 2020. Then we had a variety of different rules that were during the pandemic that are no longer applicable. And now we've got the post-pandemic rules. So this is the means by which we've had Director Sampson join us today. And that's to allow teleconferencing where the teleconferencing rules are followed, roll call votes, protection of public participation, notice and agenda. And then there has to be a justification for remote attendance under this provision, either just cause, which is caregiving, contagious illness, physical or mental disability, or travel on behalf of CalChoice, not just travel on behalf of CalChoice, can be used twice per calendar year. So Director Sampson, you've got one left. And then emergency circumstances approved by the board, physical or family medical emergency that prevents attendance in person, cannot be used for more than 3 consecutive months, 20% of meetings, or 2 meetings if the board meets fewer than 10 times per year, which is probably, well, we're going to be quarterly, right? Yeah. So that will probably be yes. If at any time we have a disruption in our broadcast, we cannot continue with the meeting until that issue is resolved. And we cannot require folks to provide comments in advance. So we have to allow them to live comment in the meeting. Next page. A quorum of the board. When we're using the remote attendance under the emergency or just cause provisions, we have to have a quorum of the board in person in a singular location, which we have, by the skin of our teeth, but we have it, in a location identified on the agenda. And that is what we have here. We have 5 of you present here in person. So we meet that standard, and that's why we were able to allow Director Sampson to participate remotely. We have to provide 2-way audio-visual platform, which we are doing, which is why, and we do have to keep folks on video, and 2-way telephonic service and live webcasting. We have to include the means of access on the agenda, which we did, with the Zoom link. And if there's a disruption, again, we can't take action until access is restored. Let's see. All right, any questions on the Brown Act? Because it's complicated. Okay, great. Public Records Act, reminder, your records associated with CalChoice are public records. We're required to maintain and disclose public records for matters undertaken on behalf of CalChoice, and most importantly for your own personal materials is documents and emails and text stored in your personal devices that are pertaining to CalChoice business are public records. So if you have a city phone, use that for CalChoice business. If you have a city email, you have to have a city email. Use it for CalChoice business. Avoid using your personal devices and accounts for CalChoice business, just so that we don't ever have to dive into your personal accounts in order to get documents responsive to a public records request. It's just easier for everyone. All right, next up, social media. Also unlikely, but we're going to talk about it anyway. If you post on your social media accounts stuff about CalChoice, talking about all of our great programs and ideas and all of those things, you could potentially turn your social media accounts into a public forum. So my recommendation is don't, but if you want to, that's fine. But if you list your public position with the authority, provide your authority contact information, discuss authority related issues, or invite public comment on authority issues, you probably have turned your account into a public forum, and then you will not be able to screen users or screen content. So perhaps don't. All right. Any questions? I think that's the fastest I've ever done it.
Just one quick question clarifying when and how we'll handle the 700 initiating office form. So just as a reminder, your staff, Barbara, will be sending those out. We'll get them done in the next 30 days, and they must be filed with our city clerk here or back with CalChoice staff.
Thanks for the question. Actually, the city clerk's office of the city of Lancaster is going to assist with that, and we'll use the electronic system. And so it'll be, I guess, received through email and all done electronically.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. I think that's it for me for a bit. Yes, that's it for me for a bit.
Thank you, Allison.
Yep.
All right, next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Are there any board members that want to pull any items for discussion for the consent calendar? And first, I must open to see if there's any public comment regarding the consent calendar.
We have no requests to speak.
Any items to be removed for further discussion on the consent calendar? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve item 1 or item 2 and 3 as recommended.
Second, Santa Barbara.
Roll call vote.
Before we do the roll call, I am remiss. I failed to ask Director Sampson to confirm that there was no one over the age of 18 in the room with you in your location.
I will confirm that.
Thank you.
Roll call vote on the
Thank
consent
you.
calendar.
Town of Apple Valley,
Yes.
City of Lancaster,
Yes.
City of Palmdale,
Yes.
City of Pico Rivera,
Yes.
City of Pomona,
Yes.
City of Rancho Mirage,
Yes.
City of San Jacinto,
Yes.
City of Santa Barbara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item on the agenda, new business, item number 4 is consider adoption of resolution 2024-004, approving fiscal year 2024-25 California Choice Energy Authority budget. And so I believe the presentation is going to be made by Ms. Barbara Boswell.
Hi, yes. Thank you, Chair. The item for consideration before the board is adoption of our proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget. The proposed budget was developed based on our current levels of services and contracts. The current administrative services fees, which are assessed to our member agencies to cover costs, are not recommended to be changed. The budget has 3 sections. The operational administrative section, which is the expenditure section that is paid for through the administrative fees, the professional service pass-throughs to members, and the energy procurement pass-throughs to the members. This table compares our 2023-24 adopted budget, provides year-end estimates of that adopted budget, and then the proposed 24-25 at the very highest level. We have revenues proposed for 2025 of $2,086,000, which is just about the same as the current fiscal year, and expenditures of $2,026,000, leaving net results of operations of $60,000. Based on our projected ending balance for the current year, that would take us to $1,531,600. So we are proposing a balanced budget before the board. Our operational revenues, the revenues that cover the operational administrative costs, have 2 components. One are the administrative services fees that are paid by the members and assessed based on the proportional load that the city represents of the total load served by CalChoice is $1,991,000. And we have other revenues of $95,000. The majority of that is interest income on our funds that are currently invested, which brings us to our $2,086,000. The majority of the expenses that are proposed in the budget are professional services. CalChoice has no paid or salaried staff, hired staff. All of the operational and administrative support is provided through contracts and professional services agreement. The amount proposed for the coming year is $1,055,000. We have legal services, again, also contracted at $525,000. Promotion and marketing at $163,000, which is funding for our contractor who provides all of our marketing assistance for our CalChoice members, maintenance of the website, developing marketing materials for programs, those sorts of things. The City of Lancaster does continue to provide administrative support. We have the assistance of the technical support at this meeting, the city clerk's office, who will be serving as board secretary and providing additional administrative support through the chief executive officer. So that $145,000 is a reimbursement for those services. We are proposing to add $25,000 for program development. There's no specific program identified for that funding, but it's to allow funds that if the members wanted us to pursue looking into a program for the benefit of the members, we would have a funding source to go out and hire another consultant if we needed it and be able to respond to the request from the board. And then other operational costs at $112,620. The professional services that are passed through are costs that are for the benefit for a single member, but are paid for through CalChoice and then billed to the member. So the revenue is an exact offset to expenditures. Professional services is $7,413,000. We also have energy procurements that are come through CalChoice and then billed to the member agencies for their proportional share. And that budget is $32,168,768. And that does I conclude the budget presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Any questions online?
Yes, Steve Carmona, City of Peak River. Hey, Barbara, on the item for FY 23-24 budget, maybe it's just a hidden column, but notice that there's some discrepancies there. If you add the expenses, it's off. So I'm just wondering if that was just a missing row or missing information there.
On the slide deck with the detail,
No, I'm looking at the agendized item.
in the staff report itself.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. It's likely that there was a number missing from the table, but the total is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, are there any public comments for this item?
We've received no request to speak.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So move. Same sound.
Apple Valley will second.
Okay, first and second, please take a roll call vote.
Town of Apple Valley,
Yes.
City of Lancaster,
Yes.
City of Palmdale,
Yes.
City of Pico Rivera,
Yes.
City of Pomona,
Yes.
City of Rancho Mirage,
Yes.
City of San Jacinto,
Yes.
and City of Santa Barbara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item on the agenda, item number 5 is the Chief Executive General Manager and General Counsel update. Recommendation is to receive updates from those 3 individuals, and it looks like Mr. Jason Cotto, the Chief Executive Officer, is going to start off.
I will start out. Thank you guys very much. This is a historic day. So those of us who have been in this for the long haul, I think we started about 7 or 8 years ago as City Council, the Lancaster City Council as being the board of directors. This transition is the opportunity to take ownership of this collectively. And that is the goal. We've always had the intent that there was a unique leadership structure that had to happen in an effort to expand the operation. The reality is we got to a point where I think expansion is done unless this board now wants to include other cities. But it also became very apparent that as we matured, there were opportunities by working together that we could jointly do certain things together that we could not do as individuals. And I think that's what this effort is today, is us coming together and saying, how can we do this better together? It is designed very similar to SCAPA. This has not been any secret. So if any of you are familiar with the Southern California Power Purchasing Agency, this is the design of CalChoice as a CCA's equivalent of SCAPA, which means all of us have the opportunity to benefit from each other's relationships. And I think that's what I would encourage you to as the CEO. And I hope to not be the CEO for long. We hope to transition that as well as transition Lancaster out of any of the administrative operations as well. Not because we want to. We love what we've been doing, but this is a natural progression of our growth as an agency. This change allows us as staff, and you notice that there are no political leaders on this board for a purpose. These are not political conversations often. These are not about how to get people reelected. These are not about what I can do for my citizens necessarily. This is about how to operate a business. So we have multiple opportunities as units to work together to maximize our opportunities as individual cities, which I think is the huge opportunity this presents as CalChoice. As we continue to grow, we realize that all of our cities are going to be here forever, and likely all of our CCAs will be here forever. So as we grow and as we change and as we get bigger and as we get well-funded and as we get more strategies and more opportunities, I envision this entity being a very impactful to each of our cities individually, but also to the state generally. So thank you guys so much. This is historic for me. I know Barbara, who started this with me, Kathy, all the Kathys, everybody. It has just been a really cool process to see it grow to be a success. And I can tell you personally, when Barbara and I started this, it was kind of like everybody in the room said it can't happen. Literally everybody in the room, everybody in the CCA room. And we did it, and it's working. And it'll continue to work, and it'll continue to be a model for those cities who believe in independence for themselves, to run independent agencies, to use independent revenues for their independent cities. And I think we have a great opportunity to do that together. So thank you guys. On a personal note, it's been very gratifying for me to be part of this, and I look forward to what we do in the future. So thank you guys. And George is my boss, and I never thought, one of my bosses, I never thought I'd ever have to answer to George Harris, but go ahead, George, beat me up.
I'm only for like 30 more minutes. So I'm gonna reserve comment for another one.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
However, he did mention that.
Yeah, I know. He mentioned it this morning too. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon and congratulations. I just wanted to give you a quick update on some things that we have that we're working on. The first is contract negotiations with NRG and also with CalPine. Those are both multi-year contracts that will end at the end of this calendar year. So CalChoice staff has been working on negotiating those contracts, and we anticipate bringing those back to you probably August, certainly by November. And just kind of as a reminder, NRG used to be Direct Energy. They are contracted to do our schedule coordination and also our CRR, congestion revenue rights management, which has been very crucial to each of the CCAs. So that is in process, and Barbara and I have been working on that particular contract. The second contract, CalPine, as you know, is your data manager and also runs the call center for each of the CCAs. And then the second item that I wanted to update you on is our all-member meeting. We have such a wonderful time getting together. Last year, Santa Barbara, that we had a wonderful time and learned a lot. And it's always great to get everyone together and learn from each other and just get to know each other better. This year, we will be having the all-member meeting in the city of Rancho Mirage. So thank you, Jessica. And we look forward to seeing everybody. Most likely it will be in early September. We're still working on the dates. Kathy Wells is the point person on that particular item. And we're looking at September. And we should be sending out hold the date notices within the next few weeks to each of you and your staffs. So, and that's it. Thank you.
I think you've heard quite enough from me today, but it's a pleasure to meet you all, and I look forward to working with you.
All right, so that brings us to any board member questions that you may have. Anyone online as well is here in the. Okay, are there any board requests for future agenda items to be discussed at the next meeting?
As silly as it sounds, we do need to provide the opportunity for general public comment
Oh,
on items
yes.
not on the agenda. So if there is anyone present who would like to speak on an item not on the agenda, please remember the board cannot act unless an item is on the agenda, but your matter may be referred to the executive director or the general manager. We have no public comment.
Chairman Harris, one thought I have is with the new board, I think we have an opportunity to rebrand. The other day I was in an event and I noticed the CalChoice logo is a little bit dated and created by us for a different purpose. I think we have an opportunity to rebrand ourselves, look at our website, update that, whatever that may look like. So a direction from the board to work on that. We have some reserves in the budget to do that. I think that's probably an appropriate direction from the board. And we can get staff working on something kind of cool.
So with that, we recommend bringing that back as an item for the next agenda. All right, with that, we stand adjourned at 1:42. And we adjourn to the next meeting on August 20th, 2024. And we stand adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
you.